The blood rushed to my fingertips as I held the keycard to my own hotel, watching my sister block the entrance. My father's laughter echoed from inside the Grand Azure lobby, the lobby I designed, the hotel I owned, while I stood outside like an unwanted stranger. "You can't seriously think you're coming in," Vanessa said, her voice dropping to a condescending whisper. She adjusted her designer dress, a knockoff I recognized immediately from my designer friend's private sketches, and planted herself more firmly in the doorway. "This is the Grand Azure, Ellie. The tasting menu alone costs more than you make in a month." If she only knew I'd personally created that menu with our Michelin-starred chef. "He's my father, too," I said, my voice steadier than I expected. The small envelope in my clutch, containing the deed to a Tuscany villa, one of the Grand Azure's most exclusive properties, suddenly felt heavy. "My name is Eleanor. I'm 38, a hospitality entrepreneur. This is the story of how I reclaimed my place at a table I actually owned." "Mom and Dad were very specific," Vanessa continued, checking her reflection in the glass doors. "They only want successful people here, people who won't embarrass the family." The irony struck me like a physical blow. Just yesterday, I'd signed off on a $100 million expansion of the Grand Azure chain. Today, I was apparently too embarrassing to enter my own hotel. 10 years ago, when I left the family's small accounting firm to pursue hospitality management, they'd all but disowned me. My father's words still echoed. "No daughter of mine is going to be a glorified waitress." So I let them think what they wanted, let them believe I was struggling in restaurant management. Meanwhile, I built Azure Hospitality Group into one of the most successful luxury hotel chains in the country. The glorified waitress now owned 35 five-star hotels across 3 continents. "Eleanor," my mother's sharp voice cut through my thoughts as she appeared behind Vanessa. "What are you doing here? We discussed this." No, they had discussed it. I had received a text from my mother that morning. "Don't come to Dad's birthday. It's at the Grand Azure. You can't afford it. Don't embarrass us." "I brought a gift," I said quietly, holding up the small envelope. "Oh, what is it? A gift card to Olive Garden?" Vanessa laughed. "Or did you scrape together enough tips to buy something from the mall?" My mother's eyes narrowed at my simple clutch, a handmade Italian leather piece that cost more than Vanessa's car. "Whatever it is, I'm sure your sister's gift is more appropriate. She just made junior partner at her firm, you know." I knew, just like I knew her firm was currently negotiating a lease for office space in one of my buildings, a lease they desperately needed and couldn't quite afford. "Vanessa's doing so well," Mom continued. "New house, luxury car, a wonderful fiancé." She gave me a critical once-over. "And you? Well, at least you're trying, I suppose." I thought about my penthouse overlooking Central Park, my collection of rare sports cars, the private jet I'd flown in on that morning. "Yes, Mom, at least I'm trying." "Speaking of trying," Vanessa smirked, "that dress, couldn't you have made an effort? This is the Grand Azure, not some diner." I ran my hand over the sophisticated black silk, custom-made by one of Paris's most exclusive designers, the same designer who had refused to make anything for Vanessa just last month, a detail I'd learned during my last fitting. "It's what I could manage," I said mildly. "Well, you can't come in," Vanessa declared. "We've reserved the entire VIP floor. It's for family and distinguished guests only." The VIP floor? My VIP floor, the one I personally redesigned last year, selecting every piece of artwork and every crystal chandelier. "The distinguished guests being?" I asked, genuinely curious. "Oh, you wouldn't know them. The Andersons, they own that successful law firm. The Blackwoods, old money, and Mr. Harrison from the bank, very important people." I suppressed a smile. Thomas Anderson leased 3 of my properties. The Blackwoods had recently begged for membership at my most exclusive resort. And Mr. Harrison's bank was currently seeking a major loan for my investment group. Right. Very important people. Exactly, Vanessa said, clearly pleased I understood my place. So you see why you can't be here. What would people think if they knew Dad's failure of a daughter was serving their drinks? Vanessa, our mother chided softly, though her eyes showed approval. Be nice. Eleanor made her choices. If she'd stayed with the family firm like you did, things would be different. The family firm that now occupied a modest office in one of my buildings, always barely making rent. Just then, my brother-in-law Gavin appeared, straightening his tie. What's taking so long? Everyone's... He spotted me, and his face dropped. Eleanor, didn't expect to see you here. Clearly not, I replied. Gavin just made vice president at his bank, my mother announced proudly. Junior vice president, I corrected automatically, knowing his exact position because his bank handled some of my smaller accounts. My financial team provided detailed reports on all banking partners. Well, it's more impressive than whatever you're doing, Vanessa snapped. What is it now? Assistant manager at some chain restaurant? I thought about the board meeting I'd left early that morning, where we discussed acquiring the very bank Gavin worked for. The paperwork was probably still sitting on my desk upstairs, in my private office. Something like that, I said. This is ridiculous, my mother declared. Eleanor, just go. You're making a scene. I'll tell your father you couldn't make it. Couldn't afford it, you mean, Vanessa added with a laugh. I looked past them through the grand entrance at the marble floors I'd selected, the crystal chandeliers I'd commissioned, the artwork I personally curated. All of it, every inch, was mine. For a moment, I considered walking away. Let them have their party. Let them keep their illusions. But then I remembered what my first mentor had told me. Success doesn't mean anything if you can't stand up for yourself. My jaw tightened, my shoulders straightened, the tingling in my fingers stopped, replaced by calm clarity. Actually, I said quietly, I think I'll stay. Before my mother could respond, the heavy glass doors swung open, and Owen, my head of security, stepped out. He'd been with me since I bought my first struggling hotel 7 years ago, helping transform it into the flagship of the Azure chain. Is everything all right here, Madam CEO? His voice carried clearly across the entrance. Your usual table is ready, and Chef Michelle is holding the tasting menu for your approval. The silence that followed was deafening. Vanessa's mouth fell open, her perfectly applied lipstick suddenly garish against her pale face. My mother gripped the brass door handle for support. Owen, I smiled warmly. Perfect timing. My family was just explaining how I couldn't afford to dine here. Ma'am? He looked genuinely confused. But you own the entire hotel chain. Yes, I said. I do. I turned to my stunned family. Shall we go inside? I believe you've reserved the VIP floor. My VIP floor, to be precise. Gavin found his voice first. This is some kind of joke. You're just a restaurant manager. Actually, Owen interjected professionally, Miss Eleanor is the founder and CEO of Azure Hospitality Group. She owns all 35 Grand Azure hotels worldwide, along with our resort properties and restaurant chains. Vanessa's designer clutch slipped from her fingers, clattering on the marble steps. But that's impossible! The Grand Azure is worth billions. Which makes your comment about me not being able to afford the tasting menu rather amusing, I finished for her. I stepped past them into the lobby, where the staff immediately straightened to attention. Good evening, Miss Eleanor, my front desk manager called out. The executive suite is prepared for your father's birthday celebration. Thank you, Rachel. I turned back to my family, still frozen in the doorway. Coming? They followed me in silence, looking around as if seeing the hotel for the first time. Every staff member we passed greeted me by name, each showing the genuine respect I'd earned through years of hands-on leadership. "But your dress," my mother finally managed, staring at me with new eyes. "Custom made in Paris, around $30,000, I believe. I have a terrible habit of not checking price tags anymore." Unlike Vanessa's dress, which I believe is a knockoff, the real Valentino collection hasn't been released yet. I know because I attended the private showing last month. The elevator doors opened directly into the VIP lounge, where my father's birthday celebration was in full swing. The room fell silent as we entered. "Eleanor!" My father stood from his place at the head table, his face a mix of shock and confusion. "Eleanor, what are you doing here? Your mother said you couldn't afford it." "Happy birthday, Dad. I hope you don't mind me crashing the party in my own hotel." "Your hotel?" Mr. Harrison from the bank stepped forward, his face breaking into a relieved smile. "Miss Eleanor, I had no idea you were related to Robert Thompson. We've been trying to secure a meeting with you for months about that loan." "Eleanor owns the Grand Azure," Thomas Anderson joined in. "My God, Robert, your daughter is the mysterious CEO who's been buying up prime real estate across the city." My father sank back into his chair, color draining from his face. "All this time, when we thought you were just a glorified waitress?" I raised an eyebrow. "Your words, I believe, from the day I left the family firm to pursue my dreams." "But why didn't you tell us?" my mother demanded, clutching her pearls. "Would you have believed me?" I asked quietly. "You didn't believe me 10 years ago when I needed your support. Why would I share my success with people who only measure worth by the size of someone's bank account?" I paused. "Though I suppose by that metric, I'm worth more than everyone in this room combined." Vanessa collapsed into a nearby chair, her face ashen. "The villa in the south of France I tried to rent last summer? The one that was mysteriously unavailable?" "Mine," I confirmed. "My property manager forwarded your reservation request, not realizing the connection." I glanced at Gavin. "Just like the office building your firm is struggling to lease, and the resort membership you've been waitlisted for, Mother." "Eleanor," my father started, his voice unsteady. We... "Save it." I held up my hand. "I didn't reveal this to hurt you, though you've hurt me plenty over the years. I did it because I'm tired of hiding my success to spare your pride." I addressed the room. "Please enjoy the party. Everything is on the house. My house." I started to walk away, then paused. "Oh, and Dad, that envelope Vanessa wouldn't let me give you? It's the deed to a villa in Tuscany, one of my most exclusive properties. Consider it a birthday gift from your failure of a daughter." The next hour was surreal. People who had ignored me at previous family gatherings suddenly wanted to discuss business opportunities. The Blackwoods practically begged for their resort membership. Mr. Harrison cornered me about his bank's loan application. Through it all, my family sat in stunned silence. Vanessa's fiancé disappeared after learning her guaranteed partnership depended on a lease she couldn't afford in my building. Gavin kept making calls, presumably to update his resume. My mother alternated between crying and telling guests she'd always believed in her daughter's potential. As the evening wound down, I found my father alone on the terrace, staring at the city lights. "Those buildings?" He pointed to the skyline. "How many do you own?" "Enough," I replied, standing beside him. "The family firm's building included." He nodded slowly. "I was wrong about you, Eleanor. So terribly wrong." "Yes," I agreed. "You were. Can you ever forgive us?" I considered his question. All the years of dismissal, the condescension, the quiet cruelty of being invisible to your own family. "Forgiveness isn't the issue, Dad. Respect is. You never respected my choices or believed in my abilities. You only respect success after it's proven." I smiled slightly. "Now you can tell people your daughter owns the Grand Azure. That should satisfy your need for impressive dinner party conversation." I left him there and headed to my private office on the top floor. Tomorrow, the family dynamic would shift dramatically. Vanessa would no longer be the golden child. My mother would frantically rewrite history to claim she'd always supported me. Gavin and his bank would probably face acquisition. But tonight, I'd finally taken my seat at the table. A table I'd built myself, in a room I owned, under a roof I'd paid for. And that was worth more than any amount of belated family approval.